So thank you very much to the Hamilton chapter for inviting us. It's a privilege. David Wilson, he started out with the Hamilton chapter 35 years ago, so this is homecoming for him tonight. And as I said, he's going to give you the nitty-gritty, and I'm going to give you an introduction to LEED. So let's go. 10 years ago, I became very interested in sustainability. Before I went in architecture school, I was a biologist, and I realized that changing the world wasn't where I was going, and biology was more about analyzing the world. One of my professors studied cockroaches and how many species of them were. I was like, nah, I don't want to do that. So about 10 years ago, I said, you know, the world right now, it has some big issues with respect to global warming and the environment and what's going on out there. So started to look around. This is when LEED was just starting. And since then, a lot of really positive changes happened in the industry. I don't know of any owner that I talk to now that isn't doing a LEED building. So who cares? Who cares about LEED? Well, I'll tell you, you guys do, because when push comes to shove, you're the ones, I'm talking about the spec writers here, and also the product manufacturers, the architects and the engineers. You guys are the ones that are going to make this work or not work. There's lots of stuff happening out there with respect to helping pull back on CO2 emissions and making the world a little more sustainable. When it comes right down to it, buildings in the built environment occupy about 45% of all the CO2 emissions. I care a lot about the CO2 issue, as you're going to see. LEED deals with that too, and a number of other things. So who else cares? Your clients do. 10 years ago, you'd say LEED, they go, huh? Or you talk about environmental, they go, whatever, are you some sort of an activist or something? Don't talk to me about this. Now it's like, we want gold. It's gold, we want gold. Well, how about silver? No, silver, we want gold. We want a gold LEED. Do you know there's platinum? Oh, really? I mean, LEED, the smartest thing that the U.S. Green Building Council ever did was created this Olympic medal thing. Because, you know, especially they knew that the architectural and engineering industry was filled with guys. And guys like to compete. They like to play hockey and basketball and stuff. So you get gold medals. Well, that's cool. So everyone's going for the gold. But again, you guys are the ones that are going to make it happen. And guess what? It actually helps the planet. I mean, this is what this is about. But you couldn't get people to go out and help the planet. You had to have these medals. So we're going to talk to you about tonight, and especially David will give you some examples, how you actually make that a reality. Right now, does anyone know what 387 ppms refers to? No? That's the concentration of CO2, carbon dioxide, in our atmosphere today. Jim Hansen, one of the most famous climatologists in the world right now, he works for NASA, has basically come to the conclusion, most climate scientists agree, that 350 ppms is the number that you can sustain in the atmosphere without having serious global warming, long-term implications. So somehow we got to get from 387 now back to 350. So how do we get there? Well, there's two keys. One is 350.org. So if everyone has a notebook, I want you to write down www.350.org. And if you care about this stuff, and you're not just here for the door prizes, then, or line dancing, I want you to go check out this website. I'm not going to talk a lot about it, but this was created by a guy named Bill McKibben, who's a writer and environmentalist, to get people to understand that 350 is the number, because next year in December, there's going to be a climate conference, like the Kyoto conference in Copenhagen in December, and all of the big wigs that run the world are going to be there deciding on what kind of carbon caps there are. They're talking about like 380, 390. This is a number that we want them to think about and get real about. So that's the first thing that you guys are going to be thinking about. And you know what? You're not probably hearing about it now, but the spec writers, in the end, you guys that always put it pen to paper, that's going to be something on your radar. Keep it on your notepad there. And of course, there's LEED, which we're going to talk about today in detail. You guys know better than anyone else that the devil's in the details. And better known, and why it's important is this. How many contractors are there here today? Okay, Okay, so I'm being taped, so I have to watch my language. And there's the contractors here, so I'll be really diplomatic about this. But contractors are in a very, very tough world. They're very competitive. It's a very competitive game. And so they have to put in very tight bids if they're doing stiff sum, as you know. And so these little guys, change requests, are a very important part of their business. And it's the spec writer's responsibility to make sure that this is sort of under control. And that is going to be a significant issue in you also making sure that LEED doesn't cost your clients more money than it should. It's new, so all of a sudden things aren't as clear. There are opportunities for things to maybe produce these things here. What does this mean? Good specifications equals good LEED. You just can't do LEED without good specs. We have a whole pile of examples here. David's going to tell you a little bit about what they are. If you want to get a sense of some master specs on LEED, there's some examples here. But you guys, as I said, are where the rubber hits the road. LEED can't work effectively, and your clients can't achieve their buildings and not have a lot of change requests unless you write really tight specifications to make sure that LEED is actually carried through. So let's review. Just how many people here are LEED accredited professionals, by the way? Okay, so I don't have to give a big song and dance about what LEED is, but let's just review it. For those that you know, for those that you don't, here's what LEED comprises basically. You've got a section on site, site ecology, site disturbance and so forth. You've got a section on water, making sure that it's conserved effectively, energy and atmosphere, materials, indoor environment, innovation. Those are the 6 categories under which all of the various credits are found. And the number of credits, total number of credits, 70, but to get a certified you need 26 to 32 credits, silver 33 to 38, gold 39 to 51, and platinum 52 and above. So the world of LEED is the world of obtaining credits, and I've got to say that it gets a bit absurd. How many of you people have run one of your buildings through a LEED process? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So a handful. One of the most difficult things is if you really believe that this is about making the environment better, it sort of gets a bit nuts because you start sort of finding points. Well, if we do this over here and we get this wood over here, we're going to get that extra point. Gold. It becomes a dash for points as opposed to making your building sound. And where that becomes problematic, LEED's not perfect, and I'm definitely not going to bash LEED, but where it becomes problematic is where if you have a really good sound environmental strategy and you're really going, say, for reducing CO2 emissions, well, you can get through LEED process without changing the energy efficiency of your building all that much. You can get a gold and still have your building just a sort of standard ASHRAE building. So you got to be careful about what you're after. You're after LEED or you're after making your building environmentally responsible. The two aren't incompatible in any way, but don't get hung up on too much on the points. Don't miss the big picture for achieving the color of your medallion. How do credits work? Well, here's a typical page out of the LEED manual. And what's really important for you guys is this thing, submittals right here. Because it's the submittals where the specs have to describe what the contractor is going to be making happen on the site in order for you to achieve your point. And there's some pretty key submittals that David's going to point out some of the important aspects of those submittals. But unless those are executed properly, and you will not, no matter how environmentally friendly your building is, you will not achieve your LEED results and requirements, and your client will be very, very unhappy.